So we want to make sure that they are making decisions for the same reasons that you would make those decisions. So when you are delegating, I'm going to give you kind of 3 sentences or language pieces that you can use when delegating to try to help make this a more efficient process. If I needed Sydney to do something, I have one of 3 options. I would say to her, Sydney, I want you to go and make this decision and tell me when it's done. I want you to go make the decision, whatever the decision is. Fill in the blank where I just said decision, you fill in the blank with whatever that authority and that responsibility requires. I want you to go make the decision and tell me when it's done. Just sign off at the end, hey, Jeremy, bought the vacuum cleaner. It'll be here in 2 days, and we'll have it, and the church will be so much cleaner. It's going to be awesome. Just tell me when it's done. The second option that you have is to say, hey, I want you to go and acquire the information for us to make the decision together. I want you to go get all the information that's necessary for a decision to be made, but instead of you making the decision yourself, let's make it together. This is probably a below-the-waterline decision, but I'm investing in you as a leader. I want you to begin to know how to make decisions like I would make them for the same reasons I would make them. Let's spend some time working through that decision process together, but I want you to help acquire all the information necessary. And there's a little caveat here, a little part B. I may say to her, bring me your recommendation. Bring me your recommendation. Don't just come in with a bunch of information. Analyze the information, come in. We'll make the decision together, but tell me what you think we should do. I think we should buy the blue one with the insurance policy. I think it's the better way to go. It's only $4. What do you think we should do? And then I'd say, well, you know what? We bought the insurance before, but we need the bigger coverage because it didn't cover the thing last time. And here's what I'm doing. I'm taking time to explain to her how I think and why I think those things. And so I'm saying, okay, instead of just saying, yeah, let's go with the blue one, I'd say, hey, that's a great thought, that's a great decision. I agree with that because it only takes 20 more seconds. But the next time, Sydney knows how Jeremy thinks and why Jeremy thinks those things. And when she's buying the next thing, she's going to go, we need to up the insurance policy. Because you remember, even though I didn't work here then, Jeremy told me that 3 years ago we bought the thing and the premium coverage was not good enough. She didn't even have to come to me the second time because we spent 20 seconds the first time talking through it. The third option that you have in conversation, in delegation, is to say, Sydney, I want you to gather all the information that I will need for me to make the decision. I need you to gather everything, bring it to me. Part B, I may ask you to bring me your recommendation, or I may not. I need you to gather all the information and bring it to me so that I can make the decision. It's a below-the-waterline decision. And maybe it's a spiritual decision. Maybe I really need to get along with God, hear from God, but I want you to help gather the information that will help supplement that decision-making process. And, as I'm thinking about my rings of focus, I don't have the time this week to do all the necessary research. If you will help me gather the information, then I'll make the decision that I believe is right. And I'm still probably going to include you in that decision, but I'm going to make that decision. It's not going to be a group thing. We do that. Yeah. So when the shooting happened in Sutherland Springs, Texas, at the church, like everybody, I was shocked and upset, and every emotion you can imagine. And I immediately thought about our church. Heaven forbid somebody walks into our church. What's our protocol? We have some, but it was more organic than systematic. And the problem that you have in churches is if everything that you do or anything that you do that's important is based on a personality, it will fail. It has to be based on a system. Because what was your name again? Maggie. I was going to call you Maggie, but I was afraid it was Martha or something. So if Maggie is the reason that coffee gets done at the house, she's the only one that knows how to make it. When other people make it, it's not quite as good. She's the only one that knows where we buy the donuts. It's like special donuts. They have like sugar from heaven. She's the only one that knows. She may make them if she's the only one that knows. So when Maggie goes on vacation or Maggie wakes up with the flu next Sunday, we don't have coffee and we don't have donuts. That's a broken system. And here's what happens. If I'm not in the healthiest place, if I'm not in the right place, I'm going, man, I can't believe Maggie did that. Or I can't believe Maggie didn't find somebody to replace her today. We don't have a Maggie issue. We have a systems issue. It's based on a personality. And so as a church is growing, you move from a family-sized church to an organized church. It moves you from every ministry is based on the person that's doing the ministry to we have a system so that multiple people can do the same job in the same way and the product doesn't go down. The level of quality doesn't go down. The donuts and the coffee is the same, whether Maggie's doing them or Nick's doing them, or Devin's like it's the same because there's a checklist of we buy the donuts here, we pick them up at 7:45 in the morning from this place. The owner's there. We pay for it with the petty cash we've been given on Thursday. The coffee, we put 2 scoops in. We do warm water, not hot because it scalds the beans, so we put the warm water in. Here's how we measure the temperature. It goes in. Here's the checklist. Boom, 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 boom. Coffee always tastes the same. The donuts are always the same. It's a systematic thing. It doesn't matter who's serving that day. Here's what happens in our church. We had kind of an organic way that we would handle a security issue. It was kind of based on 2 or 3 guys. When they were there, we were safe. When they weren't, we were not. And so that evening, I called a man in our church, and I used one of these languages of delegation. Here's the deal. We've got to make our security protocols systematic. Every single Sunday, every single Wednesday, every time the doors are open, we have to make sure we are secure because these 9 things are getting done or whatever. I said, so here's what I need you to do. I need you to go and research what other churches do that are our size. They can't necessarily hire like full security forces and all that. I need you to go see what other churches do that are our size. I need you to resource options. I need you to get in touch with local authorities that can give us feedback on where we're vulnerable. I need you to figure out the legal implications. And I need you to bring those things to me and to our trustees. That's kind of our governing lay leaders in our church. To our trustees so that we can make a decision on what we need to do moving forward. He's like, I'm on it. He recently presented the information to us. It's kind of halfway through. We've made some adjustments. We're making more adjustments. We just had the local sheriff come out, make some recommendations on where we're vulnerable. They gave us the report this last week, and we're going to put all these things into place and make the actual systematic procedural change with them. But it all started with a delegation conversation. Honestly, it's a priority. I don't love it. So I didn't think it would get done if I was like, you know what, I got to get to this. I got to work on security and the protocols and things and the legal, and I need to call a lawyer, and I need to. If I was the one doing it, it wouldn't have gotten done yet. But it's gotten done because I was able to delegate that, and I said what I needed them to do. Bring the information back so that we can make it. Questions, thoughts, delegation, conversation stuff. All right, I'll call on you. I'm not afraid.
I have one.
Yeah,
What do you do to follow up? So, like, if you give someone you tell them, I want you to go and blank and come and get me when it's done, and they just completely don't do it.
Yep.
So what do you do in that moment?
Okay, so the really healthy answer, I'll tell you in a second. I said to you a few minutes ago in the little pyramid that I did this wrong 3 weeks ago. I walked in on a Sunday, and I lost my cool. There was like a bunch of stuff I felt like had been delegated, either explicitly or implicitly. I'm the kind of leader that, like, once you know what's expected of you, I just kind of expect you to do your job. Like, we're all adults. Let's just do the buck stops with you on these 2 tasks. I walked in on a Sunday, and I felt like there were like 9 things that weren't done, and the experience for guests walking in that day was going to be worse because somebody hadn't done their job. And I was mad. I can't explain why. It's not the worst Sunday we had ever had. It was actually a great Sunday. I can't explain. I just walked in, and I was mad. I was just mad at everybody. Just everybody. Not like 3, everybody. I wanted to go greet people with the lady that said, "Is it?" I wanted to go stand by her. Me and her, best friends that day. And so that's the unhealthy way, okay? That's the unhealthy way. It took me about 48 hours, but Tuesday to start staff meeting, I just said to open the meeting, hey, I apologize. I handled it. But there's some stuff that's got to get done before Sunday. It's a priority, and it's getting done whether you love it. Like, we got to get it done. But I handled it wrong on Sunday. I lost it. So the healthy way is regular conversation. Right? So the key is not to catch someone in not doing the job so you can just be Zeus and throw lightning bolts. As a leader, your job is to multiply you, so you handle them the way you would want to be handled when you've dropped the ball, which I'm sure everybody in the room's done at least once. Somebody gave you a task, you didn't get it done by the deadline. How did you want to be received? You know what? I realize this is not a character flaw. You either didn't have the right priorities or the right concentration. But hey, let's get it done before this next Sunday, or before tomorrow, or before lunch, depending on what that task is. If there's a second dropped ball on the same task, it requires a heavier hand. Hey, listen, I gave you a second chance. I need you to be honest with me. Do you not feel like you can get it done by the deadline, or are there too many things on your plate to allow you to get this done? I say this to Trevor all the time. The reason that Trevor's here with me is I trust him explicitly. I, honest to goodness, feel like if Trevor makes a decision, it's the same as me making a decision. We've spent hundreds, maybe thousands of hours together over the last 11 years. And if I'm going somewhere and there's nobody going with me, I'll say, Trevor, hop in the car. Let's drive to Cincinnati. I'm not even kidding. We did that. We had a reason to go to Cincinnati, but in one day we drove from Atlanta to Cincinnati, picked up some stuff, and drove all the way back. Because I thought, what better way to spend time with a friend of mine, somebody I love, and also to talk about leadership and the church and ministry. He can ask questions, and I can say, here's what I think, here's why I think this. Like, why would you ever go to coffee by yourself? Why would you ever go to a restaurant by yourself? Why would you drive 20 minutes down the road to something if there's somebody standing right there that has the potential to belittle you down the road? You can go, hey, hop in the car with me. Let's go. You don't even have to be talking about your task, but if they understand more and more the way you think, then when they're in decision-making moments, they can think and make decisions the way you would make them or for the same reasons that you would make them. And so, if I've said to Trevor, hey, I need you to do this, I give him a lot of things. I trust him. I trust him so much with decisions. And so what happens is I will say to him pretty regularly, I think, you have too much on your plate. Have I given you too much? Because here's what I need you to do. I need you to tell me. I would rather you tell me up front, hey, if you're giving me this, I need to offload this to be able to accomplish this. Like, if you're giving me project A, you gave me project B a little while ago, and I'm not done with that yet, and for me to do this and do it well, I can't have both. Can we delegate that finishing to somebody else, or can you give project A to somebody else? Because I need you to be honest. I would rather you be honest with me up front than for you to drop the ball down the road and then make an excuse. Does that make sense? And it's not an excuse, it's legit, but it sounds like an excuse on the back end because you didn't have enough forethought on the front end to think, I can't do all of these things well. So you got to have the forethought and the self-discipline to say, hey, Pastor Stephen, thank you for trusting me with this new task to totally revamp all of our coffee ministry. I love it. I'm going to research every coffee bean and I'm going to do it. I want to do it. But you also asked me to revamp all of guest services 6 weeks ago, and I'm not quite ready. I haven't given you the final report for anybody else that can do the coffee thing until I finish the guest services. It's a heavy hand once it's down the road, but it's also just a lot of conversation ongoing. And if you have delegated where it requires some input, this is so quick. This is so quick, okay? So if I hand it off and it's step 1 and step 10 is finished, as a leader, unless I have told you, I don't want any input. I don't want to, here's the task, you take it, tell me when it's done. Unless that's the case, I need to make sure that I'm checking in semi-regularly. So at step 3, I might just say, hey, how are things going? Have you researched all the vacuum cleaners? Where you're going to meet the deadline? Did we figure out what we're doing? And then I probably don't touch it again until maybe 7 or 8 before we write the check, before we put the card down. Hey, how'd it go? What's happening? If I wait to get involved here, I'm not being fair to that person. Because they've spent a ton of time up to this point gathering information and trying to make a decision. And I wanted input, and I don't trust them enough for them to make that decision without me. I'm not being fair if I wait here to give my input. But if I give it at every step, I'm micromanaging, and I don't trust them, and they're probably not right on my team, or I'm not a good leader. So I've got to make sure that throughout this, I'm picking the right spots to interject my opinion and to ask questions. That make sense? Okay. Yeah, somebody questioned. There was a hand up a second ago.
I have
Yeah,
one.
Sydney.
So with the steps, and you check in occasionally with that person, what happens if they're like, okay, I'm going to have it done, and you get to step 10 when you have been checking in and nothing's done? My personality, I would just be like, okay, well, I'll just go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
And because it's on me, because it's my thing, and I've delegated it.
Right.
So what would you do, or how would you have that conversation to that person if it's not done?
I mean, again, it comes down to you can do the task for them this time, but you're not fixing what will happen next time. Because they thought it was okay that they got all the way to 9 and you finished the drill for them. And that's not okay. You asked them to complete a task. And so if you don't make that change and you don't address that with them, the next time you're going to be just as frustrated. And here's what I've realized. I'm recognizing this in this season of ministry for me. If I have an ongoing frustration with someone, like if every time they've done a task, they haven't done it the way I wanted, I didn't check in enough, I didn't have the hard conversation when it didn't get done right, or they didn't finish it. If I'm having a hard conversation, I do one of two things. I start working around them, which is unfair to them and to my team, or I start doing their work for them, which is unfair to me and our team, right? And the reality for us is the vision of the house is more important than one person's feelings. You need to know me. Like, I'm a softie. I don't want to hurt your feelings. If I can help it, I'm going to find the nicest way to tell you that I think you're an idiot. I'm not a mean person. I have people in my life that will walk up to you and go, you're an idiot. I'm not like that. But I have learned the value of hard conversations, that if you don't have that hard conversation, like, you're doing a disservice to yourself, to the other person, and to the team. Because here's the problem. They think they did what you wanted them to do. If you don't tell them it's wrong, they think they did what you wanted them to do. Go buy the vacuum cleaner, buy the insurance policy. And if they come to you and they say, hey, here's the best 3 vacuum cleaners, and we can get them in all these colors, I would recommend the Shark in blue and the $4 insurance policy. And you go, okay, well, I mean, all right, I'll order it today. They walk out of there going, I did exactly what Jeremy wanted me to do. Because he didn't say it was wrong. So the next time I give them a task, go buy a new drum set for the church, go down to Guitar Center, I don't even know if you guys have those, go down to Guitar Center, buy it, get the insurance so that if it breaks, like, we'll be good. They'll come back to me with 3 drum sets in 3 colors and the different options for insurance policies, and I wanted them to buy the drum set. But now I'm frustrated again about the same thing I was frustrated before because I didn't have the courage to have the hard conversation. I just didn't have the courage. The first hard conversation is always the worst because we assume it's going to be so much worse than it actually is. The reality is 2 things. 1, it's never as bad. It's never as bad as you imagine it's going to be. Especially if you come with the right heart. If you come with the right heart and you say, hey, listen, I love you. You are awesome. I'm not talking about giving a compliment sandwich. Like, I'm going to compliment you, I'm going to blast you, I'm going to compliment you. That's manipulative. I'm saying, like, I love you, but I asked you to do this task, and you dropped the ball. And here's why, and here's what I think happened. And then here's a corrective action. Next time, I fixed it this time. Next time, what I need you to do is finish the drill. Go ahead and buy the thing. That was my instruction. Buy the thing. If you make a mistake, don't let the fear of a mistake cause you to not make a decision, right? If you buy the thing and it's wrong, we'll return it. You got the same heart I got for this place. Make if it's in the right heart, it's never going to be as bad as you think. And the second thing is, how many of you in this room want to do something that you know your leader thinks is a terrible job and they think you can't accomplish what you're supposed to accomplish? Anybody? No. We want to do a good job. People want to do a good job, and they want to be trusted by their leader to think, hey, I actually can accomplish what they're tasking me to do. So they actually will thank you, whether they say it or not, even if they're hurt in the moment. They're glad that you trusted them enough to say, I want to make you more successful. I want to make you a bigger part of what God's doing here. I want to be able to trust you with more of the process. Hey, let's have a hard conversation. It's going to be awkward. And I just kind of own it. Whenever I'm having hard conversations, I'll say, hey, it's going to be awkward for the next 5 minutes. It's going to be awkward for the next 5 minutes. Just buckle up, okay? We're going to Mexican for lunch in just like 20 minutes. I do it before lunch so we can go laugh at chips and salsa solve everything. We're going to fix this in a minute. But for the next 5 minutes, this is going to be awkward. The other thing I do is I tell them which hat I'm wearing. This may be different for you. You may not have this, but I wear a pastor hat, I wear a boss hat for my paid staff, and I wear a friend hat for everybody in our church. On some level. Doesn't mean I'm friends with everybody, but they see me in that light. And so I wear a pastor hat, a boss hat, and a friend hat. And I usually tell them which hat I'm wearing for that conversation. So I'll say to Trevor a lot, hey, let me take my pastor hat off for a second. I just want to take my friend hat, put my friend hat on. What's going on with you and Lauren? How are things? We had a conversation like that yesterday. I wasn't asking as his pastor. I'm asking as his friend. But there may be times when I go, hey, I got to put my boss hat on for a second. We still don't have a vacuum cleaner. I asked you to buy. It's gonna be awkward for the next 5 minutes. Why don't we have a vacuum cleaner? I thought we talked about this. We met Tuesday. Like I don't understand. Right? And it's awkward. And he'll say, I thought. I'm so sorry. I thought you wanted all the options. I didn't say that. I said I want you to go buy the vacuum cleaner. The next time, here's what we're gonna do. This time I already fixed it. I saw that it wasn't purchased. We got to have it by Saturday. I went ahead and bought it on Amazon. He brought me the option. Next time, when I ask you to buy the thing, just buy it. All right? And we're good. You understand what I want? Yes, I understand. Okay. And we're good. And that's it. And that's where we leave it. I got my boss hat on for him. And then I'll say, hey, I'm putting my pastor hat on. You know what? I'm putting my friend's hat on. Which Mexican restaurant? Right? And just, boom, we're back at it. Okay? Questions, thoughts? Yep, Nick. You're good, man.
It's the best place to be. So
He's taking people down to the crag or something like that. I don't know.
so we're talking about, so this time I fixed it, next time I expect you to do this. I'm the kind of person who wants to just give everybody 83 chances at something.
Right.
But at a certain point, I just can't do that. What, is that a dealing with this person? Do I have to look at the situation and say, okay, you tried to do this, and you just didn't do it right, okay, let's move on. Or I told you this time, but you didn't do it, so now this has to happen. When you get to the heavier hand, how are you dealing with that situation? Are you just saying, okay, I told you last time to do this, you didn't do it this time. If this happens again, blank. What kind of action are you taking? What's going on
So
there?
the best way that I know to describe this, and everybody's context of parenting is different, but the best way I know to describe this is the way that I'm parenting my kids. If I'm walking through the house and my 8-year-old son leaves a toy on the floor, I mean, we're not like uber organized and clean, and it's, it looks like an Instagram post all the time. That's not us, but I know I'm going to slip on that toy later. I'll say, hey, Tucker, pick that up and put that away. Go to the kitchen. I come back. It's still not there. Tucker, I need you to pick the toy up right now. Go put it away. I asked you to do that. Oh, but Dad, I'm watching the show. Pause the show. We got DVR. Pause the show. Pick the toy up and go put it in the thing. Because when I walk through here in a few minutes, I'm going to trip over that. I know I am. Go put the thing away. Okay, yes, sir. I walk out of the room. I come back. Tucker, the toy's still there. Last chance. I'm going to leave the room. I'm going to give you a chance to do it right. I'm going to leave the room. It better be done. Yes, sir. Walk out of the room. Come back. He's getting spanked. Not because I hate him. Not because he's a miserable human being. But because he's 8 and he didn't do what I asked him to do 3 times. Right? So for us, as leaders, we've got to recognize that everybody's at a different place in their leadership journey. Some people can be trusted with more. I have higher expectations for my 13-year-old than I do for my 6-year-old. Everybody's got a little different expectation. I'm probably not trusting them with as many things. I may say to my 13-year-old, take the trash cans down to the road. The trash is coming in the morning. My 6-year-old, I'm probably not letting her go to the road, and the trash cans are too heavy for her. But I may say, hey, go empty your trash can in your room into this trash bag. Right? So there's different responsibilities, different expectations at different levels. But the discipline is out of the same motive. I don't discipline, this is just an aside, this isn't life in general. I don't discipline because of your bad behavior. I discipline to produce future good behavior. That makes sense? The only reason I'm disciplining you is because I want you to know that there were expectations that you didn't meet, and the next time that I or someone in authority gives you instruction, you're supposed to do those things. My hope is that the discipline in this circumstance produces a better response from you in the next circumstance. I'm not disciplining you now because you did something wrong. I'm disciplining you because the doing something wrong I don't want to see as a repeated behavior in the future. So I discipline you now so that the next time there's a better response from you, right? So when I was 16 years old, I'd had my driver's license for 4 days, and I got a speeding ticket. I was going to church, but I was running late. And so my parents were out of town. I was driving 65 on the interstate. I was going a little faster than 65. And I got stopped, and I got a speeding ticket. And my younger brother, who's a smart aleck and a loudmouth, was in the car, and he told everybody in our church, Jeremy got a speeding ticket on the way to church. So my parents knew before they got back to town. So what did my parents make me do? They made me ride the school bus for 30 days and not drive to school. Why? Not because I got the speeding ticket. Because they wanted me to know that there are repercussions. Next time it won't be 30 days on a bus, it'll be 30 days in jail. We're disciplining now to produce a different behavior in the future. Right? So as a leader, I got to take that same mentality. You dropped the ball, you didn't buy the vacuum cleaner. I don't really care about the vacuum cleaner. I mean, I probably do in this moment, but I don't care about the vacuum cleaner. When you're right now leading tens, there will come a day in this church when you're leading hundreds. You're not buying vacuum cleaners. You're managing the budget of our first church plant 15 miles from here. I need to know that I can trust you, so I've disciplined you now so that you can make the decisions that are necessary down the road. You understand what I'm saying? It's about that. It's about that future stuff. Any other questions or thoughts before I kind of give you some closing moments? I know we got 11:30. I got 6 minutes. I'll be hanging around for a few minutes. Trevor will as well. Trevor, anything you want to add? Go ahead. Oh, did I already cover it? Okay. So, closing thoughts. Most people love the church the size it was the day they walked in. Just the reality. They walked in and they stayed because they loved it. They loved it. The healthy things grow, and this is a healthy church. And it is growing, and it will continue to grow. And as the leaders of this place, you got to be so careful that your language accommodates the present reality and the positives about that, while being excited about the future reality that's actually different from what everything looks like right now. So when people are like, I just love it here that I know everybody, I'll be like, isn't that awesome? That's such a great, great thing about the house. And what I love is that even though as we're growing, it's going to be impossible for you to know everybody at the church, we have life groups so that you can know everybody in your life group. Because there will be a day where we'll be so big, there's no way for you to know everybody in the church. That's so exciting. The fact that there would be people here that I don't even know, they're in third service and I go to first service and I never interact with them, but we're all a part of the house. That's incredible. But on Thursday nights, some of those same people will be in my life group at Eureka Pizza or whatever that was on the sign on the road. I may not even be open. I just saw it. I'm a pizza guy too. I saw it on the thing and it said Eureka Pizza. I was like, I've never heard one of those. Okay, we meet Thursday nights at Eureka Pizza. And like, you got to know everybody in your life group. You got to know everybody on your serving team. But it's going to be impossible one day to know everybody in the church, and that's so exciting. I cannot wait for that day, right? So I'm using language that's intentional to affirm what we are now, but recognizing we won't always be that way. I say sometimes to our people, isn't it crazy that this is the smallest our church will ever be? That's crazy. I say that all the time. Isn't it crazy that this is the smallest our church will ever be? I mean, just boom, boom, boom. We want everything to grow up into the right. I don't even have time to do that. We want everything to grow up into the right. But just that kind of intentional language. I said from the stage not too long ago what I just told you. We want to make it impossible for you to know everybody at camp. But we want to make it absolutely necessary that you know everybody in your serving team and everybody in your life. That's where life actually happens here. It doesn't happen on Sunday mornings with you all facing me. It happens in a circle around a home, life group. It happens in your volunteer huddle before you go love on babies during the second service on Sunday morning. Like, we're going to make it impossible. And so here's just a couple of questions. How many of you want your church to grow? Raise your hand. If you want your church to grow, raise your hand. Raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand. I think everybody's hand is raised except the guy. He's got his finger up while he's taking a picture. Even Trent back there's got it. I see his arm waving. I'm assuming anybody watching by video right now, your hand was in the air. If not, you're going to hell. So, they're not here. It's fine. No. You said you wanted your church to grow, right? Now let me ask a harder question. What are you willing to give up? Willing to give up. Unless the Lord grows the church, we labor in vain. It's not about you, it's not about me. But there are some things as your church grows that you will have to give up. There may come a day when they call the leaders meeting, the coaches meeting at the house church, and you're not invited. You okay with that? If the church is growing, lives are being transformed, hundreds and maybe even thousands of people in this community being reached for the cause of Christ, and you're playing a different role. You're no longer the leader of thousands, but you're still leading hundreds or 50s or 10s, and it's a different environment. But there's a group of people that are meeting together. They're the leaders of thousands. You're not invited. Are you willing to give that position up for your church to grow? If not, you got to pray through about that. You got to give that to the Lord, because what you're saying is, God, I'm willing for this church to grow as long as I keep my position. You say, hey, I want our church to grow, but are you willing to give up the close personal friendship relationship that you have with Pastor Stephen and Katie? Because as the church grows, what we just read in Exodus 18 is that there's no way to sustain that pace. Like, he's got to release ministry to others and allow for those people to release ministry to others, and it allows him to have to move up the ladder a little bit. It's not about separating himself or isolating themselves or their family, but they are recognizing that they can't be best friends with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. And so they've got to find in that ring of focus, where do they absolutely have to spend their time casting vision, building relationships with people to make sure that they're keeping the ball moving forward for this church. Are you willing to lose the personal, close, interactive relationship? I mean, he's as relational as they come. But if it comes to a point where he says, Nick, and I'm picking on you, I have no idea. Nick, I can't go with you on Thursday. I know we've done that every Thursday for a year. I can't go. And I probably can't go any Thursday after this. I'm so sorry. In this season, this is just what is required of my time. With the church and the growth and what's happening, like, are you okay with that? If you're not, you need to pray through about that. Because what you're saying to God is, God, I want this church to grow as long as I keep my position. As long as I keep my stature in the church, as long as everybody knows, like, I'm tight with the pastor, as long as everybody knows I'm invited to the coach leader meeting, like, church can grow as big as it wants to, as long as I keep my position, my relationship. What if the church grows and you lose some of the influences? Everybody kind of looks around the church and they know, like, that's so-and-so. There's somebody. They kind of make it happen. It's going to happen. They make it happen. What if one day the church grows to the level that I don't know who you are? Decisions are being made all the time, but you don't have any influence over it all. Okay with that? Not? Let me pray through that. As you raised your hand, you said you wanted the church to grow. But if you've got some of those things still unsettled in your heart, you have two choices. Get over it. Get out. It's not your sunset. It's not your sunset. I'm honest to goodness. It's not your sunset. It's not your church. It's not your vision. God gave the vision right there. And I'm not one of those guys that says God only speaks to pastors. And God, no. I believe in the priesthood of all believers. But I do believe that the anointing flows down. And I believe that as God anoints, He releases, they release ministry to you, leadership to you, influence to you. It may be for the life of this church, or it may be for this season. You've got to decide. Is the goal to grow more important than my role? Or to me, is my role the most important? And if it's your role, God bless you. I'll help you find another church. Because we believe that God is doing something. I've only been here for 24 hours. I've been on the ground not even 24 hours. Something special here. God's blessing. God's growing. Healthy things grow. It's a healthy place. God's going to do something special. You want to be a part of that. I promise you do. Unless you really, really don't. You got to pray through that. I want to pray for you, and then I'm going to get out of the way. Don't be mad at me. I love you. I've enjoyed our time today. I'm excited about tomorrow and being with you guys in service. I'm available. Trevor's available if you got questions. I want you, as we pray over these last minutes or two, I want you to say, God, search me. Search my heart. According to the story of the children of Israel, when Moses was leading, and eventually he was removed from leadership, God installed Joshua. Joshua was going to lead the children of Israel into the promised land. Joshua chapter 1. First 6 or 7 chapters of Joshua are some of my favorite chapters in all the Bible. Joshua chapter 1, he says, Moses, my servant, is gone. Do not be afraid. We're going into the promised land. We're leading people in the promised land. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. I'll be with you wherever you go. Do not be afraid. And this is the instruction that he gave to Joshua. That as you're going into the promised land, put my Ark of the Covenant. It's the physical, visible presence of God. Put it out in front. because you've never been this way. You're going to walk into your tomorrow. None of you have ever been into the tomorrow of the house church. So if that's the case, you put the presence of God, the tangible, physical presence of God out in front. You say, God, if you're not leading us, we're not going. Then he said this. And then put the leaders right behind. I say this to our leaders at our church all the time. As much as it depends on a people like this is where the house is headed. People in this room, people like you in this church. If you will follow the presence of God, the tangible, instruction of God, if you will listen to the wisdom of God, if you'll follow behind the leader of this church and you will lead the people into your promised land, there is no end to it. But if you forget the order, you think you're in charge or you're in front, or you get out in front of God, or you have a different sunset, eventually your view of the sunset takes you somewhere different than where God is leading you. So just say, God, search me. Make sure that my heart is right. Make sure my heart is submitted to the leadership of this church. Make sure my heart is submitted and I have a clear understanding. And if I don't, help me to know it. Help me to ask questions to get the sunset for this place so that I can lead with confidence and boldness the teams and ministry and thousands and hundreds and fifties and tens that you have given to me to lead, to steward in this place. God, let me be faithful. All right, so just bow your head and close your eyes just for a minute as we pray. Just ask God. Search your heart. God, I love you, and I thank you for the people in this room. I thank you for everybody that's here and everybody that may be watching later by video. God, I just thank you for the opportunity to be here and to dream about the future and to dream about what you're doing, to be thankful for all that's been accomplished here at the house thus far, and just to know that this is the beginning. This is the smallest this church will ever be. God, you're accomplishing great things. There are people in this community that need a church just like this. Marriages need to be restored. Sons and daughters need to be called home. The lost need to be found. The blind need to be able to see. And God, you want to do that in this place. And so, God, I believe through the preaching and the teaching and the worship and the kids ministry and the student ministry and the outreach, God, I believe you want to reach people for you in this community. God, I believe it. You've given a clear sunset and vision to this leadership team. And God, as they're chasing after that, as they follow after your presence, the presence of God is out in front. God, I believe if they'll follow after that, the people are going to follow. And they're going to follow them into the promised land of all that you've destined for this place. And so, God, we thank you for that. So, God, right now, we pray that you'd search our hearts. Let us be the leaders that can be trusted. Let us be the leaders that are following after the leaders that have been placed over us. God, let us be submitted. We don't know if we're submitted till we don't get our way. So, God, let us know right now that we are submitted to leadership, that we have the right heart, that we're faithful. God, we cannot expect submission from those under us if we do not submit to those over us. And so, God, right now, help our hearts to be in the right place. God, challenge us, convict us where we're wrong and in error. And God, I pray right now that we would take everything we've heard today, everything we've learned, put it into practice so that we can be more efficient at doing what you've called us to do here. But it's all about people. So, God, keep our hearts sensitive and ripe to what you want to do in the people of this community. And God, we give you all the praise and all the honor. In Jesus' name we pray.